So, how to buy an apartment building in the next 90 days with little out-of-pocket capital. So here's going to be my main promise to you tonight. Okay, my main promise to you tonight is how you can buy a 10 to 30 unit apartment deal in the next 90 days with $20,000 out of pocket. Would that be worth it to you if I can show you exactly how to do that? So full disclaimer, no, you will not automatically become a millionaire with one apartment building, but you can set yourself up for your future self. Right? I mean, you don't need a lot. I mean, I get the question all the time, Justin, I want to make about 10 to 20,000 a month in revenue and income from multifamily real estate investing or income producing assets. And that way I can maybe make a decision to leave my current job, right? My current job, because this is kind of where the pain sets in, right? I mean, and be honest with yourself. Like, why are you even here tonight? Why'd you click on the ad? Why'd you come through our text messaging? Why'd you come through the emails to watch this? I'm curious, and be genuinely honest. Because usually big moves in your life are made from pain, not pleasure. Big moves in your life are typically made from pain, not pleasure. So it's kind of dipping into that pain to drive you to make decisions, to kind of get out of that comfort zone, to take a little bit of fear and bust through it, to get over the hump and jump off the cliff. You got to get through that pain and that fear of doing that, okay? So looking at this, tired, mad about your current situation, you want help, want to level up, you know that multifamily is the way to go, but you don't know where to start. Maybe you're just curious about multifamily and not sure what you want yet. Make decent money in a W-2 in your job, but you want more time with your kids, your family, more money, generational wealth. You're tired of the rat race and working for the man. Working for the man, as they say. Makes sense. Okay. So the question is, how many deals, okay? How many deals in the 10 to 30 unit space do you need to do in order to get to $10,000 to $20,000 per month in income for yourself? The answer is 3 to 4. 3 to 4. Because the typical 10 to 30 units going to produce somewhere between $2,500 to $4,500 a month for you. That's after everything. Loans, payments, expenses, up, down, partnership expenses, their splits, up, down, left, right, Timbuktu, right in that range, okay? So 3 to 4 deals. So that's the hone-in spot. So if you're saying to yourself, you're sitting here and you're like, hey, I'd like to leave my job in the next 2 to 3 years. You just need to know that you need to do 3 to 4 of these, and then you'll have it. So it's like, how do you paint the picture and set the game plan? That's how you would do it. But it starts with your first one. Your first one. So let's break that down. So I think it's important to know where people come from. And I don't know if any of you even know anything about me. But if you don't, let me give you a quick synopsis. So born and raised San Diego, California, son of a kind of builder developer guy. And, third generation in the sense that my grandmother kind of started it on my dad's side, buying some rental property. She was a realtor. Then she got into some apartments. My dad kind of took that, but he went to the moon and really took off. He was that kind of transitional character, they call it in our family, where, he took it from hundreds of thousands to millions. But then, could make a lot of money, but then lose a lot of money. He wasn't trained or taught, how to really protect money or not over leverage or any of that stuff. He was very good at the build and sell game. So he'd build a lot of things, sell a lot of things, build a lot of things, sell a lot of things. And that's great when markets are good. It's really bad when the markets tank. And he rode through 3 different market cycles, but the 4th one got him. And that was the financial crisis of 2008. And that kind of brought me to this point, because in that financial crisis, which I'll show you, 2010 was when we bought our first property, and it was a $100,000 condo. We brought in $25,000 as a down payment. We took out a $75,000 normal loan from Wells Fargo. Then cash flowed about $570 a month. It's pretty good. On a percentage return, it was awesome. But it wasn't that much money, right? It wasn't that much money. But then that took us to the next stage, right? Which was getting into some more apartment stuff. These are just some articles and stuff that were written about my dad when he went bankrupt back in 2008. Did anybody else go bankrupt? Lose a family, house, job, cars, things, other stuff, drugs, alcohol. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, that was a wild time if you were in it. Point being behind it is, yeah, you can lose it and you can win it. But that's only if you do it the wrong way. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. And it all comes down to a couple things. Leverage, and cash flow. Leverage and cash flow. Okay. You never lose unless you're forced to sell. Like you never lose in real estate unless you are forced to liquidate and sell. Like forced to against what you want to do, because then you can't set and time markets. So 2008 financial crisis, between 2008 and 10, I was an asset manager for a lot of the major banks doing and handling the asset management of all of the single family foreclosures around the country. I was seeing some crazy SHIT. So but this kind of started around 2010, real estate broker, but then we started buying properties. And then we were buying properties in this little pocket up until 2018. And then Dean, just like you were saying, this is when the game of OPM came in. Because up until that point, we were using just all our own money. I didn't understand this game of, wait, like people will invest with me if I have a good deal. And then I just need to lock up a good deal with some capital. And then people will come into that because they want to make good money too. And then we all go to the moon together. That's how the game works. That's OPM. The answer is yes. And I don't care if you don't think you know anybody. I don't care if you don't have a single dime to your name. I don't care if you don't think you know anybody with any money. I guarantee you somebody knows somebody knows somebody. But the deal will drive the show. Money loves making money. A good deal will attract that money in, right? So from 2018, we got up to 20 units, about $3.5 million, but it was all with our own money, right? 100% of it, we owned 100%, but it was all with our own money. Now, fast forward to today, we have over 1,000 units, $180+ million in assets, and we own 40% of 180 million, or over here we have 100% of 3.5. Which is bigger, 100% of 3.5 million or 40% of 185? It's about 187 million now. Which one's bigger? No OPM, not using other people's money, trying to do it all alone. With other people's money, syndicating deals, other people's money, investors, bringing it, scale it, partnerships, growing. 40% of 185 million. That's how you do it. You need to understand that that's how games work. The richest people in the world don't use their own money. Jeff Bezos, less than 10% of Amazon. Elon Musk, less than 10% of Tesla. The guy that owns NVIDIA. And then Louis Vuitton, right? I think number 5 in the world. He owns a very small percentage of Louis Vuitton because he understands I can use my money in conjunction with other people's money to scale, whether it's businesses or it's real estate. So once again, how can you buy a 10 to 30 unit apartment building in the next 90 days with $20,000 out of pocket? Well, we have got to get by these 3 limiting beliefs. These false belief patterns that I know are in your brain, because most people have them. Oh my gosh, I need a lot of money. I'm buying a $2 million apartment building. You're calculating I'm going to get a loan for X and I have to bring in the rest. No, you don't. The loan is easier than getting a house loan. I'm going to show you how. The rest of the money, you're going to bring in a small portion of it. The rest of it's going to come from other people's money. We're going to show you that. So we're going to break through this limiting belief. Number 2, that multifamily is too complex. It's for experts only. No, it's not. I was not an expert when I got started. It was 2018. I'm sitting in my car. Up until that point, we'd only done some small little duplexes, fourplexes, single family, stuff like that. I didn't understand this bigger game. But then I'm literally going through my feed on my phone, and I come across an ad for a conference out in Boston, Massachusetts. I don't know what came across me, if it was just because I was dealing with personal stuff at the time, but I said, F it, I'm going. Right? Because that's the mentality you have to have. You can't be paralysis by analysis and, oh, well, but what, and, oh, what, but what, and you're not going anywhere with that mentality, right? Grab your you-know-what and let's go, because that's the only way you're going to where you want to go in life. Sitting twiddling thumbs isn't going to do anything. It just doesn't. Action and being consistently disciplined is how you go. And everybody can do this. You can absolutely do this, and I'm going to show you how. You just need a little bit of belief in yourself, okay? And we can help you do that. But the belief that it's not too complex, it's not for experts only. The last one is that deals are too hard to find. Market's oversaturated. It is if you're looking in the wrong places. So, question, if you were going to go find multifamily apartment buildings, where would you look? Where would you look? What websites or what processes would you do? We got brokers, we got Crexy.com, we got Zillow, online, LoopNet, Crexy brokers, MLS brokers, Crexy, Facebook Marketplace Network, LoopNet brokers, Crexy. Okay, online. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so all of you answered right and wrong, right and wrong. And let me explain why. When an apartment building is getting ready to come to market, okay, the broker gets the listing. He puts together a nice, simple marketing package for that listing. He or she is going to circulate that marketing piece amongst their 25 to 50 investor contacts in their little database. That's the pre-market phase. It's about a 2-week, 3-week pre-market phase. The property is going to sell about 90% of the time right there, if it's a good deal and it makes financial sense. So once it gets to Crexy, once it gets to LoopNet, once it gets to Zillow, once it gets to CoStar, once it gets to any of the online platforms, all you're looking at are leftovers. It's maybe 20, 30% of the market, maybe, if you're lucky. So hence the reason, because you're looking at them and you're going, well, this doesn't make any sense. Obviously, because that's the reason it got to the website, is because it sucked, right? Because all the people that really wanted to buy it bought it before it got there. Make sense? So by the time it gets to the websites, it sucks, which means it has to be heavily negotiated, which is why you're looking at it and you're saying this. Deals are hard to find and the market's oversaturated. Nothing makes sense. It's because you're only looking at 20, 30% of the actual deals. That's why. Okay, that's why. So now the question becomes, well, yeah, obviously, Justin, but how do I get to the brokers, right? I don't have broker contacts. I don't know who to reach out to. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to do it, right? That's usually the thoughts. That's all teachable. Very, very easy and teachable. You just need to understand the process. So we're going to break through these, okay? Let's keep going. I'm going to break this deal down for you real quick so you can understand, and we're going to break through this kind of belief system here, financially how this thing's going to work out. So this is a 15-unit apartment building for $1.5 million price point, $100,000 per unit. Renovations, we're going to renovate this thing for about $100,000. We're going to put in maybe $8,000 a door. Closing costs, that's what CC stands for, $50,000, right? $50,000. Total of $1,650,000. Now we're going to go out and get a loan from a local commercial bank. Keep in mind, even inside our community, we have all the lenders. The lenders aren't your problem. You just need a deal that makes sense, okay? The money will fly at you. Do you know why it's easier to get a loan of $1.1 million on an apartment building easier than it is to get a $200,000 house loan on your house? Does anybody know why? Yes, an apartment building, any commercial property is its own operating business. That is how the bank looks at it. So as long as that thing is producing an income substantial enough, and there's metrics for this, we'll learn these. Once it produces that, they're literally going to throw the loan out the front window of the bank, so long as you're not a fraud, right? If you have a 600 credit score and you're not a complete fraud and the deal makes sense, they're going to throw a big bag of money at your forehead going out the bank. Seriously, because they need to loan money and they want to loan it on good deals. So as long as that deal makes sense, here's your money. Because they're loaning the money to the business. You are secondary in the process. Does it make sense? Because the building is its own operating business. You are secondary. Okay, you're secondary. Yep, DSCR loans, debt service coverage ratio, DSCR or DCR, however you want to classify it, same thing. Same thing. Income and profit. So here we are. Loan of $1,150,000. That's about a 70% loan, because typically commercial loans right now are 65 to 70%. 65 to 70% of the value or cost is where your loan's coming in at. So now that leaves you with $500,000 to come in with. Well, if you didn't know about this OPM game and how this thing works, then you'd be going, holy shit, no wonder I can't buy an apartment building. I don't have $500,000. I know you don't. Most people don't. I didn't. We didn't have that. $500,000. So this is how the game works. You are going to come in with 10% of that. Okay? 10% of that is from you. You're going to get 40% of the cash flow and profits are only bringing in 10% of the deal. That's different than the control, though. You have 100% control. 40% for 10% of the money in. You see how you're 4Xing your money? 10% came in, 40% for you. You're 4Xing your money right there, scaling. Now, this should be 450, by the way. 450 is the OPM game, other people's money. Now, who is this OPM? This could be people in our community. Heck, it could be our fund for all I know. Other people. This could be people in your network, people you know, people you don't know. This could be seller financing through creative financing methods. It could be a private lender. All the above makes up OPM. Your problem is not so much this, it's making sure that this deal makes financial sense and produces a return good enough to attract the money in. That is how you get it going. But in order to lock up a deal, you have to have some capital in it. This is why the game of no money down type thing, no money in, technically you can figure out a way. But by the time you get done doing that, you're going to have like nothing of that deal for yourself, and you're just a pawn in the game. So the only way you get some, fish in it is you got to have a little fish, right, to fry. And that's how you make it happen. So some capital. So that's 50K. So now you got 50K in the deal. But this is where it gets fun for you, because there's fees that you make when you do these things. One of the fees is called an acquisition fee. Has anybody heard of an acquisition fee before? Just so you know what an acquisition fee is. It's basically a fee for you putting your time and effort into hustle to make this thing happen, finding it, analyzing it, putting it together, structuring it, all the stuff you're going to do as the main person. You need to get paid for that, right? Time is money. You need to get paid for that. That's what an acquisition fee is. Typically, it's 2 to 3% of the purchase price. So in this case, let's just go on the low end of the spectrum. Let's say it's 2%. That's $30,000 on a $1.5 million deal. So now start equating this with me. 50,000 goes in. Within 7 days of closing on the deal, 30,000 is coming back to you from your closing cost here. That's all built into the deal. So how much are you really out of pocket? I actually have it on the board for you. $20,000 out of pocket. And now you have control of a 15-unit, $1.5 million apartment deal, probably in the Midwest somewhere, or in Arizona, or in the Southeast, or in the upper Midwest, probably somewhere outside of the coastal zones of the United States. Because you have to buy deals in order for this game to work. You've got to buy apartment deals somewhere between $50,000 per unit up to about $150,000 per unit. $50,000 per unit up to about $150,000 per unit. And you want to stay in the 10 to 30 unit apartment space for your first couple deals. Why? It's more mom and pop. You're dealing with more mom and pop lenders, more mom and pop sellers, more mom and pop investors, more mom and pop everything. You don't have to have this track record, because that's probably what you're thinking. Well, how are people going to give me money? How are lenders going to give me money? How are the sellers going to talk to me? Why would the brokers talk to me? See how you're creating all these limiting beliefs? Why though? Because you're starting to walk yourself off of what you know can happen. You just need a good deal to drive it. That's the key. A good deal to drive it. So, how do you find the good deals? We're going to get into that. But this is the financial breakdown. Does this make sense? So you're really only out of pocket $20K, $20,000. I just showed you right now, you do not need a lot of money to get started. If you can come up with 30 to 50K, you can go find and lock up deals, control them. And when you control them, you're the kind of person, you're with the puppet strings. You're the person pulling all the strings. That's why it's such a powerful skill set to have once you understand this. This is how we got started. This is how we scaled what we were trying to do, right? So here's a kind of a frequently asked question I get. And we talked about this, 10 to 20,000 a month. How many deals do I need to do? 3 to 4. Because on average, a 10 to 30 unit apartment deal will produce $2,500 to $4,000 per month free cash flow to you. To you. Okay? So that's that one. Another FAQ I get. How much time, Justin, do I need to be successful in this space? I have a taxing job. I got 14 kids. I have so much stuff I need to do every day. How do I do this if I want to get out of the rat race? You need 5 to 10 hours a week. 5 to 10 hours a week. So here's why pain is necessary. Here's why pain's necessary. Because this is what you're going to have to do in the beginning to execute the plan. You have your normal 9 to 5. You're going to go do that because you got to make the money, you got to pay the bills, you got to take care of the family. Got it. Then you're going to come home. You're going to spend family time. No different than I did, right? 10 hours, I was a realtor selling houses. That was 100% commissioned. I didn't know where my next paycheck's coming from. Then I had to come home. Kids, family, all that stuff. Kids go to bed. Dad's there around 8 p.m., 8:30 at night, right? So rather than me sitting on the couch watching Jeopardy or some other show that makes my brain explode, I said, listen, I need to move the needle in life. We got to go. I'm going to double hustle it. So I'm on the computer looking for deals, analyzing them, writing offers. Looking for deals, analyzing them, writing offers. Looking for deals, analyzing them, writing offers until boom, I got my first one. And that's how it started. But it was a double hustle, couple hours, right? Maybe an hour, 2 hours a day, 5 to 10 hours a week. And then it happened. And then once I got my second one, boom. By my third one, I quit realtor job. Quit the realtor job because I was making enough money with multifamily. By the third one, adios. And now I've never touched and sold. I don't know the last time I sold a house. Okay. Because I wanted to make this move for myself. So if you're in a 9 to 5 you hate, or even a 9 to 5 you like, you're making good money, right? But you want to have some other resources in there. And we haven't even talked about the tax benefits. I mean, holy grail. I mean, what if I showed you all how you could wipe out the taxes for the rest of your human existence and not pay another dime of taxes for the rest of your life on this planet and not pay Uncle Sam every single year? You can pay your state income tax. I don't think you get out of that too much, but your federals can show you how to do that. Would that be beneficial to you? Aside from cash flow and profits and all the other stuff you're making, fees and all that, actually wipe out taxes for the rest of your life and even wipe out taxes on your W-2 job if you do it right. There's ways to pull that one off. So let's get into that. So how much time do you need? 5 to 10 hours a week in the beginning. Another one, FAQ. I only have $20,000 to $50,000. Can I get started doing this? I just showed you yes. I just showed you yes. You need some money, a little bit of money, and you can pull this off. So yes, while some capital is needed to own and syndicate apartments, you're learning the process of how to scale and move money. When you scale and move money and you're leveraging your money with other people's, this is where you can control apartments and scale to the moon. That's how you do it. This is why you learn the skill set. It's a very, very valuable skill set. I was chatting with a gentleman the other day, and I said, why do you think neurosurgeons make the money they do? Why do you think hedge fund managers make the money they do? Why do you think, if you think about a skill set or a job or a career where it's disproportionate to the physical effort they give, whereas, some other highly manual labor jobs that like maybe some of you have, and you're just grinding and you're tired, but you're also not making a ton of money. Your income is directly related to the problems that you solve. Your income is directly related to the problems that you solve. Think about that for a minute. If you're solving $1,000 problems with your job, that's why you're making thousands of dollars. If you're solving $100,000 problems, that's why you get to make six figures. If you're solving $1 million problems, this is why you get the chance to make millions of dollars. You're not doing this to make pennies. You're doing this to make a lot of money, so that way you can take that money and have lots of choices to do what you want to do with your life. Okay? But it's directly related to the problems you solve. So the belief that you need a lot of money, and I already asked you this, if you found a 20-unit, 30-unit deal in the next 90 days, do you have $20,000 to $50,000 to go execute this plan? Some of you said yes, some of you said no. You can still learn, but in order to execute, yes, you're going to need something in this range. You're going to need some capital. And so if the thumbs up is there, you can execute this plan. Okay, you can execute the plan. Answer a couple quick questions real quick. Came in from Dean, first one being, my first deal, I was with my wife, so having a partner made a big deal, even if not married. Okay, what about totally vacant 20-unit complex? You can do a totally vacant 20-unit complex. It's just going to hurt what you can pay for it now. But you're going to have to use some hard money to pull that one off. It's not going to be traditional financing. Initially, you're going to have a lot of money down on something like that because you can renovate it. I'm guessing you'd buy it, renovate it, then get tenants to move in. You can totally do that. You're just going to have a runway of interest reserve to carry the loan and everything else you may be doing until maybe 12 months down the road, the thing is fixed, rented, and generating cash flow to pay the loan. But that's how you do it. Probably hard money. Probably hard money. What are your thoughts on investing through a self-directed 401k? Beautiful. Yeah, we have a lot of investors that invest in our stuff through IRAs, self-directed 401ks, trusts. The only ones that are a little harder is if you're 1031 exchanging out of another investment property into one of our partnerships. Typically, that does not work for IRS tax purposes. It can be done, just complicated, but it can be done. Can be done. Okay, so can we agree that you don't need a lot of money to do this? Can we at least agree on that before we move on? Awesome. Okay, there we go. So next limiting belief system. Things are too complex. You have to be an expert. None of these people that are in currently or were in or are still in the community were experts. But you know what they did do? They had a little bit of belief in themselves, a lot of fear, but even more pain. And they made it happen. They made it happen. They jumped off, they took the leap, and they made stuff happen. And that's why they get to move needles in their lives. There's no other way to do it. You know, I wish there was some, you all know this, there's no secret potion, right? It takes effort, it takes work, but it's worth the blood. But the reason you move past blood and move through pain is because you had pain to get there, right? There has to be enough pain and pissed offness to move the needle for yourself, to get off your ass, and more importantly, move it every day. Because it's one thing to do it for a day. It's another thing to do it for a week. It's even another thing to do for a month. But shit, if you can pull it off for a year, it's hard. Man, is it worth it? I'm a speaking purpose of it. It's worth it. It's worth it. So you do not need to be an expert. We're going to break into that real quick, right? This is ACUS, right? I always kind of pull up on ACUS. Of course, my eyes are closed. And I'm not going to play this video here, but her story is awesome. In the medical field from Northern California, English is her second language, doesn't understand any of this stuff. But she did understand she wanted to buy real estate, and she'd done some rentals on her own with her family and so forth, done pretty well. But she wanted to get into the bigger game, just didn't know how to get there. So she actually ended up coming in and passively investing first. She ended up passively investing with our company just to do apartments with us. And then she's like, I really want to do it on my own as well. And that's when she leaped in to learn this stuff, to execute the plan, and then take it to where now she's buying 10 to 30 and bigger apartment complexes. But that was ACUS, right? English is her second language. We have Steve, right? Steve, I don't know if you can see him here. He's like way down here all fuzzy and stuff. But Steve, a contractor in the upper Midwest, his first deal was a 39 unit. And it was actually a vacant, dilapidated property in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio, he had 100% tax abatement on that thing because the city really wanted development. They came in, they kind of subsidized some stuff. He got a really smoking deal on a little mid-rise 39-unit building in the Cleveland, Ohio area. Did very, very well with that. His first deal. Contractor, like a general contractor guy. He had some construction background. That helped. But he had no knowledge of this stuff. He had to learn it. But then more importantly, he had to jump off and take a leap, right? He had to like get into that moment of like, okay, I understand I'm scared and I'm fearful and I don't understand everything. I don't even know everything. But I'm going to like jump off and make things happen. Because what's the alternative? I'm in the same position 12 months from now that I am right now. I mean, think about that for a minute. Like, would you, and this is a self-answering thing for yourself. If you're unhappy with where you're at, like a lot of people said, and then you want more, but you're doing nothing about it, and then literally June 24th of 2026, you're back on a webinar with me, and it's the same shit, different day. How pissed off are you going to be at yourself? Because one of the things, I just joined one of the masterminds with this guy, Eric Rock, incredible individual. And he said, post in here some wins and losses and or goals and things that you're trying to achieve by the end of the year. And I chimed in there and I said, listen, Eric, one of the biggest goals I have for myself for the remainder of the last 6 months of this year is to keep the promises I make to myself. Keep the promises that I make to myself every single day. Because that's one of the hardest things we all deal with. right? Alarm goes off. That's where your day starts, right? Good or bad right there. I said, I'm going to promise to say 3 things I'm grateful for every single day before I put my feet on the ground and get out of bed. Number 1, I'm going to make the bed every day, which I've always done. I'm going to make sure I'm working out 3 to 5 times a week. And I'm going to stick to that. Even if it's simple, but I'm going to do it, right? Getting up at the right time, following some people like routines, some people don't. But the little promises you make to yourself, the more you don't follow those and you let yourself down, right? It makes you feel pretty shitty because internally you're letting yourself down. You're just not telling the world about it. But everybody does this. We all battle with this. So keeping the promises you make to yourself is one of the greatest things you can do for self-confidence, right? So Steve Contractor, he busted through it. Not too complex for him. Brian Tran, he's on his 3rd deal now, 53 unit, but his first one was a 22 unit in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He ended up doing a 28 unit deal and then a 53. And that's where he went. See how he progressed, right? Smaller, bigger, and then bigger over 50 units. But he started 10 to 30, 10 to 30, 10 to 30. Sacrifice 4 to 5 hours a week towards educating yourself online. Yes, listen, this is not about information. You can find information everywhere. This is about transformation, right? What you can't do is just be a consumer of information. We all are guilty of it in some fashion at some time where we're the doom scrolling. You're a consumer of conferences. You go to a lot of conferences, you take all these wonderful notes, but all your damn workbooks are where, right? You have to implement at least 1 or 2 items from every kind of event you may go to move the needle a little bit further and not just be a consumer of info, because it's not the information, it's how are you going to take action to transform. And it's hard, guys. If it were easy, as they say, everybody would do it, but it's not, because it takes consistent discipline, very consistent discipline. But you can absolutely do it. You just got to believe a little bit in yourself. But the first thing you can do to build that self-confidence is to hold the promises you make to yourself every single day. Like if you simply, one day at a time, you say, hey, these 3 promises, I'm going to meet them today, no matter what. These are my non-negotiables today. And watch what happens to like your inner self core if you actually check each one of those off and then you do it again the next day. I was having a call with one of my partners and he said, hey, it's okay to have a bad day, but just don't do it 2 days in a row. I was like, that's a good thought. I never thought about it like that. But you can have a bad day. We all have cheat days, cheat food, cheat this, right? Bad days. But just don't have it 2 days in a row. Because what do they say? Fool me once, right? It's on you. Fool me twice. It's on me. My fault. So Brian Tran, he got into it, 22 units, dog walking company. He's a dog walker. Not too complex for him. He pulled it off. 22 unit, posted on social media. So does anybody know who Ken McElroy is? Anybody know this guy? So Ken McElroy, he started many, many years ago. I think he's borderline billionaire now, kind of the quiet billionaire. He's not some genius. He bought his first investment property in 1990 while he was a freshman in college. No previous experience, no expert. Today, $3 billion and 9,000 units in 5 states in the United States. He's doing all right. So, and he's still growing. So you can look this guy up. Pretty cool dude. Just some faces you may or may not know. I don't know if you know Brandon Turner. This guy's amazing. Beardy Brandon, guy's awesome. You got Mr. Uncle G up here. Grant Cardone, like him or not, he's very impressive in what he's pulled off. Robert Martinez, apartment rock star. Look up that guy. Really cool dude. Ryan Pineda, awesome dude out of Vegas. Carlos Reyes. All these guys, great individuals. But what's happening, and I'm not throwing this up to flex, you have to realize in order to get to where you want to go, you have to raise your vibration. Hence the reason they say the 5 people you surround yourself with most, you will become. It's not because, just because the 5 people. It's because, think about it for a minute. If you wanted to be the fittest person, right, ripped, and you went and you hung out, right, because in order to do that, you want to go hang out with 5 really fit people. Why? Because they will not hang out with you for more than about 2 to 3 weeks if you don't get your shit together. If you want to be super rich, you don't go hang out with people who are not. You go find a way to hang out with people that align with you vibrationally, who are making good money. And the reason you do that is because in order for them they won't hang out with you more than a few weeks, maybe a month, and then they'll stop calling you, inviting you, being around you, because the vibration is not there. The frequencies are not in alignment. They're going to say, like I need better people. I need to be around these people because of the vibration patterns. That's why it happens. You're forced to level up or you're adios. That's how the game works. So that's why change your vibrations, change your patterns, change your life. People do affect your networks, which affects your net worth. You hear that stuff all the time. Okay. So let's keep moving. The belief that you need to be an expert is just not true. Did I dispel that for a minute? Was I able to dispel that you don't have to be an expert? Because this is important. Because one of the biggest hurdles that I talk to people about is, okay, we can prove to them you don't need a lot of money, checkbox. We can prove how you can find deals, checkbox. But it's it's the internal belief or lack thereof that you know that this is awesome. You just don't believe you can do it. And I understand why, but I'm also saying that you have to take a leap of faith. You have to trust in yourself that as long as you have the right hand-holding, the right people, the right surroundings, the right environment, that you'll level the you-know-what up. You'll level the F up. And trust in yourself that you'll execute like a ninja. Because you have to believe. And I understand you may not believe at the moment, but you get there by keeping little promises to yourself so your confidence goes up. And then you're like, okay, let's go to the next step. And let's go to the next step. And as long as you're having the hand-holding through that process to kind of help guide, so you're not making any dumbass mistakes, you'll get there because you'll make things happen. You will. You just got to trust in yourself, leap off, and let the house show up. Let the house show up. Awesome. So remember I said to this table of the OPM game, if you want to scale money, move money, do this game, you're bringing one of two things to the table. You're bringing the cash equity or the sweat equity. Cash equity or sweat equity. So I say this. If you have 20K to 50K, that's enough cash equity. That's enough. Checkbox. Boom. Now come over here to the sweat equity. This is where you learn. Because if you can learn the processes and you can learn the skill sets to execute what I'm showing you here, then you are extremely valuable to people with money. Because let's say you needed $500,000 to take down that last deal, right? The one I showed you, right? You needed 500K. So you're bringing in 50. So you got 450 left. In order to be valuable to these people that are going to give you the 450, you have to have knowledge, sweat equity, and the ability to make it happen. So that way these people's money can earn more money. And if you can prove to them, which you can do, not hard, it's all teachable, that sweat equity is extremely valuable. Extremely valuable to people with the actual cash. The actual cash. Because now, a lot of people don't want to actually hustle. They may have some money and they just want to invest with people that know how to do it. Right? And then here's my money. Just give me a check every month in my mailbox, hence mailbox money, and let's rock and roll. And then you go run the show. I'm too busy. I don't have time. I'm going to go make my money. And then you just give me a check and then give me some tax benefits. And then they ride off into the sunset and you get to go make. The reason you're doing this is because your returns are stupid. Their returns are somewhere right around here. Your investors, anybody that invests with you, 15 to 20% a year on their money, somewhere in there, right in that pocket. So if you can earn 15 to 20% on your money and you don't have to do anything for it, other than do what you're doing in your life, and then you just get checks, most people are cool with that. Over here, 40%, 50% plus per year. Those are your returns. Your returns have a lot more zeros. Why? Because you're doing all the work. You're doing all the work. So for that effort, you get paid well. Remember I said your income is directly related to the problems that you solve? Solving big problems. They need to move a lot of money. You have a solution. Solving big problems, you get to make big money. That's how the game works. That's how the game works. So you need to learn this so that way you're valuable here. Unless you won the lotto and you have a lot of money in your bank account, you got millions or hundreds of thousands, then you don't get to play this game. You have to play this game first to get to this game here. Play this game to get to this game. Okay? And that's how that's going to go down. So the last one we need to talk about is the belief that deals are hard to find and the market's oversaturated. So we talked about this, but my question to you is, there's only two ways to find deals. Two ways to find deals. Which way do you think is the fastest, most efficient use of your time? Since most of you have other jobs and careers, your time is limited. You need to be efficient. Which is the best route to choose to go find deals? So the answer, the winner is direct to broker. Direct to broker. That's the most efficient use to start, right? But a great way to find off-market deals is direct to the owners, especially in today's world where you can use software, right? So let me show you how this works. When you go get deals, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, right? The broker gets a listing. He does a broker opinion of value. He's going to go ahead and sell the property before it even gets to the market. The pre-market phase is 80% of it. If it doesn't sell here, it's then going to move to the websites, LoopNet, Crexy, and CoStar, and the other websites. It's only 20% of the market. You're seeing the leftovers like we talked about. That's how the process of a deal coming to market goes. So in order to really bypass that, you can use these websites, right? You can use these websites right here as a way to see, like if you don't know any brokers, because I hear that a lot. I don't know any brokers. I don't know how to talk to brokers. I don't know what to say. I don't know the questions they're going to ask me. Once again, negative thoughts. You walk yourself off the cliff before you even try. So here's how you execute. You're going to use these websites to identify who the brokers are in the marketplace. That's all you're using the websites for. You're not actually using it to find deals. You're using it to find brokers. Those brokers, you're going to take tours of the properties, and there's a process that you go through to gain the confidence to do the tour of the property. And then on that tour, it's a little bit of meet and greet. Remember, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. Have you heard that quote before? The more hands you shake, the more money you make. So because of that, you're building a little bit of rapport. Hey, Mr. Broker, look, this deal, I've already underwritten it. We're probably too far apart. I'm sure you have some other stuff you may be working on in the marketplace. We're going to buy here. We're going to buy. We're going to buy. I'd love to buy through you. Okay, can you put me on your email database so I can look at some of the stuff that's coming to market? Maybe not on yet. You can send out to your database of people. I'd love to be on that list. Great. Boom. A little bit of rapport, and now all of a sudden you're seeing some deal flow. And that is the 80%. So that is the direct-to-broker approach. There's nuance to it. What do you say, what not say, blah, 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 all that nuance. There is a process to learn there, but not hard. Not hard. Just takes a little effort and follow through. Okay, that's that game. Now, the process of direct-to-owner, okay, is done through software. So for years, I used another software. And then I said, screw it. We need one that I have more things in it that I like and we need and I want to use. So we developed our own with developers. So we have our software called realestateradar.ai, realestateradar.ai. It allows you to find residential and commercial properties direct to owner anywhere in the United States, 160 plus million properties. More importantly, it overlays AI because everybody's got AI right now. It's taking AI data, overlaying it on public data to identify the properties likely to sell so you can focus on those now in the next 12 months. And that's how you get the direct to owner approach anywhere in the United States. And that's through our software. So realestateradar.ai. But the direct to broker approach, direct to owner approach, direct to broker approach, direct to owner approach. And now that you understand how properties come to market, you know how to be more useful of your time. Knowing realistically, you need to get to the pre-market, right? Pre-market phase or completely off-market direct to owner. And there's processes to use to do that, right? Where it takes the stress in having it be hard out of the equation. It's just simply a procedure and a process, So now that we understood this, right, that deals are not hard to find, but they only if you do it together, right? You don't want to do it alone. You want to do it together because doing it together in community and collaboration, softwares, things like that, you can find more deals. You can see more deals. You get opportunities to more deals. Hence the reason we even created the community that we did. So that way collaboration and partnerships can happen, from raising capital, finding deals, analyzing, closing, managing. All those aspects of an apartment complex are done together, not alone. Critically important. Okay, single family versus multifamily. Who here thinks that single family investing in rentals is better than investing in apartment complexes? Meaning, go buy 10 single family homes or buy one building with 10 units in it. Which one and why? I mean, I think you know the answer, hence the reason we're here, but you get the point. With single family, there's really only two ways you're making money, right? You make monthly cash flows. That's cool, right? That's cool. And then you get profits at a sale or a refinance. With multifamily, you get everything that you get in single family, plus you're making money 5 to 8 different ways through fees and everything else. Did you know that? Did you know that you get a chance to make 5 to 8 different ways of income when you buy a multifamily building? Hence the reason it's so lucrative, because you're not just waiting for monthly cash flow and profits. You're getting those. In addition, you're getting fees for putting it together, managing it monthly, tax benefits, fees at a sale, finder's fees for finding it, construction management for doing renovations and managing the renovations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's many, many different fee structures. But at least 5 to 8 different ways you're getting paid while you're owning it, in addition to all the stuff you get on single family. The biggest one is this one right here. Biggest one is that one right there. Would you say that if I could show you in 5 minutes, I'll kind of go off topic here for a minute. If I could show you in 5 minutes how to wipe out your taxes for the rest of your life in the next 5 minutes, can I go off topic and take a little extra time here? We're going to go a little off topic here. So here's how it's going to go. Whether you are a W-2 or a 1099, W-2 means you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks or week. You're working for the man. You're employed. A 1099 is you're probably an entrepreneur, business owner, somewhere you're making 1099 type income. It's not a W-2, and your taxes don't come out of the check. They come out later. So you're 1099. You're an entrepreneur, business owner. So this is how the game works. Much easier to wipe out this than it is this. But let's say, hypothetically, for 2025, I make all the money, bling, 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 and then I find out that I have to pay Uncle Sam $50,000. So in October of this year, and we should probably do a little sooner, but let's say it's in September-ish, I go to my tax guy, ideally a tax strategist, not a CPA, and I say, hey, what's going to be my taxes for this year? Estimated. And they're like, okay, we're estimating $50,000 you may owe the IRS, not state income tax. If you have state income tax, the IRS, $50K. Okay, great. So now you have two options. The money goes here to the IRS, which is also known as black hole, okay? Or comes over here and you put it into an apartment building, okay? That does nothing but do this and do that, right? Money and appreciation. And then what's going to happen is when you do that, whoever you're investing with, or you do it yourself, right? Once again, it has to be in a commercial apartment building. This does not work on single family that well. Technically, you can do it. It just doesn't make sense. But in an apartment building, you're going to do what's called cost segregation analysis. Right? This is just a report. It's a process, costs a few $1,000. Company does it, and then it gets done for the building, and now you have a nice little report. That report allows you to accelerate the depreciation and take huge chunks and losses on paper against your income. Okay? So you're going to do a cost seg study, and let's say this building was, let's say this was a $2 million building, okay, for simple math. $2 million building. I do a cost seg study. That cost seg study tells me that I can bonus depreciate $800,000 of that $2 million. I can bonus depreciate that. The report tells me I can do that. Great. Now let's say that you have investors. Okay. And in order to buy this $2 million building, right? Because if you did that math on the 2 million, let's just do some math real quick. So $2 million deal times 0.7. So you're going to have $1.4 million loan. Okay. $1.4 million loan. And then you're going to have $600,000 in equity. Okay. $600,000 in equity. You are coming in with what? 10%. That's $60K. Remember that? That's the formula. 90%, which is the delta there. That's what, 540,000. Is that right? Comes from other people's money. See how you invested 60K right here? Notice how you have to pay Uncle Sam 50? Pay attention to that. 50 is going to the IRS or it's going into a deal. 60 is going into the deal. Here's the cool part. Because of this cost seg, you're going to get a K1 statement for 2025. That K1 statement, it's going to be pro rata share of 800 grand. So your amount in it, you're probably going to have almost a dollar for dollar, $60,000 as a negative paper loss on this K1 statement. You're going to take this K1 statement, you're going to bring it all the way back to your CPA home skillet. And then depending on how you're set up, if you're a W-2, then ideally you would want to be classified as a real estate professional as well, which takes about 700 and something hours a year, about 15 hours a week of some real estate activities to now be classified also as a real estate professional. That's option A. Or option B is if you have a spouse and that spouse is not in a full-time job, well, then that spouse can now get their real estate license. And as a real estate license, now they're automatically, with some little bit of work, they're now an RE professional. Now you're going to take this $60,000 loss and you're going to wipe this out against your W-2 and your 1099 income. Wipe the whole thing out. Oops. Whole thing out. Okay? And that's how you just wiped out your taxes. And you do that every single year. No Uncle Sam. So once again, you have two choices. 50,000 goes to IRS in a black hole, or 50,000, in this case 60,000, goes into a real estate investment asset of which you do all this stuff. You come back, you wipe it all out, and then you rinse and repeat every single year, and you're growing your portfolio. You're getting rich off of real estate. You're not paying Uncle Sam. It's sticking into an asset that's appreciating, cash flow, profits, taxes, fees, structure, everything you're getting. Bada bing, bada boom, you're rich. And that is how the rich do it. That's how they do it. I know it's a lot of scribbling, but that's probably worth $100,000. Cynthia, the website, there's many of them, Crexy.com, LoopNet. Those are the two biggest marketplaces that are completely free. Completely free. It's complicated, Ruth, because it's the first time you've seen it. Totally understand. Obviously, it's like anything, repetition. I've done it a million times. So for me, it's like back of the cloth napkin. Once you get it once, just rinse and repeat. But once again, the value of learning this is what happens when you get into communities, mentorships, coaching, these things, you learn this. Because this is worth its weight in gold. I mean, if I literally showed you how to wipe out all your income for the rest of your human existence on this planet. Literally. And this is the only method that you can actually do this left in the entire United States. Because the IRS tax code allows this to happen and wipe out what's called bonus depreciation. And Trump is just about ready to sign that other bill, right? He's going to take this bonus depreciation game from 60% up to 100%. And that's another technicality, but it's going to help all of you if you're in real estate investing, which helps everybody else if you're growing money in businesses, okay? The name of the software, William, I'll chat with this. It's called Real Estate Radar, realestateradar.ai. Realestateradar.ai is the name of the software. So let me show you a case study real quick, and we're going to finish on this. We bought a 31-unit deal. I had $19,000 out of pocket for a 31-unit deal. Let me break it down for you. We bought the deal for $1.5 million. We did renovations for $400,000. Closing costs for $225,000. We were all in at $2,150,000. We went over here. We got a loan for $1.5 million. That was 70%. We brought in 645 grand. I brought in 64, 10%, 64,000 for me, 90%. It was 7 investors that brought in this 581,000. I got an acquisition fee of 45 grand. The delta between 64 and 45, I had $19,000 out of pocket in control and ownership of a 31-unit apartment deal in the Midwest for $19,000. Where else can you pull that one off? You have to understand it's the movement of money. And I can do that because I have a skill set that I learned, which is what you can do. What did I get for that? 31 units, 24 months later. We renovated the property. We increased the value by renovations, improvements, increasing the income, the rents, everything on it. We took the value from $1.5 million 25 to $3.6 million. It's a big bump. We pulled out $2.5 million loan. We took down a $2.5 million loan, paid off the previous loan we had, paid back all the equity we had in it and preferred returns to all of our investors, pocketed an additional $355,000 tax-free money, by the way, because debt, if you didn't know this, is tax-free. Tax-free money. I was getting an asset management fee of 1% per month, 40% of the profits in the monthly cash flows, $2,000 a month times 5 years, $120,000. Net profits from the sale, $470,000. I made $590,000 on a $19,000 investment. And that is not uncommon. It's not uncommon. But once again, your income is directly related to the problems that you solve. This is disproportionate. Why? Because I'm solving big problems. That's why it's disproportionate. It's not time for money, right? It's time for skill. And that's why you get paid this. That makes sense? How to buy a 10 to 30 unit apartment building in the next 90 days? I think we achieved that. We got rid of this negative belief system that you need a lot of money. I've shown you you do not. The belief system that it's too complex and you need to be an expert, you do not. I've shown you that. Number 3, that deals are hard to find and the market's oversaturated. I showed you the 2 different ways to find the deals and the nuance within them. I'm going to share with you guys real quick. And I think this will be highly beneficial. If you want to take your learning to the next step, you remember how I was mentioning the 3-day event that we're having at the end of July? Okay, the 3-day event that we're having at the end of July, 3 days with me in detail. I just put a link in the chat. If you can find your chat on your phone or your device, you're going to see a link in there. You can click on that link. Do it right now. Okay. It's $97. Okay. $97 for 3 days with me. We're going to dive in depth. You're going to get workbooks, tools, downloads, systems, like everything. The 9 to 9 on it. Everything you can imagine. Okay. We're going to throw the gauntlet at you. And you can also get in a boardroom with me. And we're going to go through deals, and more deals. That's 3 days with me at the end of July and the 24th through the 26th. That link right there will get you going on that. Be the best $97 you ever spend the rest of your life. Trust me. If you enjoyed what you saw this evening, and this is just a taste, imagine if we dive in depth and I'm literally breaking things down and then giving you all the tools and resources to go execute. Okay, very, very valuable. And there's for all of that. Okay, it's a virtual 3-day event. So you'll be able to watch it on Zoom, listening to it on Zoom as well. We're going to be running it. It's going to be about 4 hours each day-ish. 4 hours each day. And a lot of awesome content and stuff you're going to be getting. We're going to walk you through A to Z apartments and show you how you can literally buy one step by step, what to do, why to do it, and all that stuff. So you can get into apartments this year. Ideally close on one by the end of the year. How amazing would that be? How slay would that be if you could pull that off? For an investor, Baltimore has a lot of potential. So Chris, I mean, inside our community, Multifamily Schooled, we have a lot of investors that are either investing in other people's deals, looking for money for their deals, hence the reason for that community for partnerships and collaboration. We would have to see the deal in the kind of what we call a pitch deck, right? A pitch deck. This is all the things you'll learn in the 3-day event, how to raise money and all the tools and systems and things you need to raise money, right? We're going to give you everything and show you exactly what to do and how to do it. How long is the access for? It's lifetime when you come in, but if you're going to be, it depends on how you come into the community. There's multiple ways to come in, but for the event, you'll get into it immediately, have immediate access. And then if you want to then do more later, you can. You can. Oh, well, I'm in a multifamily nonprofit management company. That should not, when you say you're in one, meaning you own one or you're working for one. And any apartment buildings you own, Chris, are independent of another nonprofit you may currently own, right? If you go buy apartment complexes, you're not going to buy them through your management company. You'd be buying them through a separate entity that's for profit, right? The fact that you may own a nonprofit company, great. You own a nonprofit company. I mean, I'm CEO of a nonprofit. That does not affect my ability to go invest in for-profit businesses. Sergio said, who gets the loan? The partners under the company. You typically, the general partner is the one signing on the loan, but the signing is done by, the apartment building. So the loan is being given to the entity, right, that owns the apartment building, of which you are the managing member of. So you are the main signer as the general partner, but that's another reason that you get paid the big bucks. What kind of corporation should you have when buying C Corp or S Corps? If you're going to be buying C Corps and S Corps, you probably should be using an LLC from a top line liability. And then that LLC can own ownership interest in C Corps and S Corps. I'm glad you enjoyed the tax explanation. I love the tax side. It's crazy when you talk to people about the tax benefits, and that's really the holy grail, right? Because it's not about the money you make in life. It's about the money you keep. And it does you no good to go make $1 million if 999,000 go to Uncle Sam. Okay? It's not about the money you make. It's about the money you keep. And it's using legal tax avoidance to do it. Real estate is one of the last major mechanisms to pull that off. There's other ones, right? You go buy, a G-Wagon, right? You get to write it off. You go buy a jet, right? You get to write it off. But, you go buy apartments, that's an appreciating asset 9 times out of 10. And I'd say 10 times out of 10. So, Sergio says, if you are redeveloping a vacant multifamily, is it recommended to keep the previous management company? No. Well, why is it vacant? Is it because of bad management, or is it just because I don't know. Why is it vacant? That would be my question. If it's vacant because of bad management, you're absolutely not keeping that management company. All right, everybody, want to be respectful of your time, especially if you're East Coast. It's 9:30 for you. And hope this was extremely valuable. And join our 3-day. This was awesome. I enjoyed it. I get excited. I'm exhausted now. I think I need some water. Anyhow, thank you so much for all the clapping and thumbs up. It's beautiful. And we will see you on the other side. Take care, everybody.